Hey everyone, Meister here. I was going to do a video of this, which is why I'm halfway through it, but I thought somebody might get some benefit. This is a Koni shock install, a Koni damper install on a Gen 4 Super Outback. Mine's a 3.6R. So I'll just show you a couple of basic things that save somebody some searching. So to get to the top of the struts, your two nuts are right there underneath the cover in the back. Just fairly straightforward. And then you can see I've already done the rears on this car. So that's the Koni strut. And to remove the struts on this car, basically you have no choice but to remove this guy, and the sway bar link. What I would do is one side at a time, but disconnect the sway bar link on both sides. That'll make it easier to move this arm out of the way to get the shock body out. The rest of the shock install is pretty straightforward. On my car, the assembly didn't drop down once the strut was disconnected and the lower arm was disconnected, so there's a bit of friction in all the bushings. It seems to hold everything suspended. The assembly of the Koni strut itself, obviously it comes with a separate plate. I painted mine just to try ward off any kind of rust. You know the orientation, basically match the way the original strut was. So basically slide that plate on. There's the white plastic disc that's under here. That guy there, you need that guy there to, when you bottom out the suspension and the what do you call it, the bump stop inside pushes against the shock body. That allows for, I guess, the air to escape or something. It has some function that you need to have it there. Yeah, otherwise the strut assembly went pretty good. Used the usual spring compression tool to get the strut disassembled. I didn't have any problem taking off the top nut of the stock struts. My car's got 240,000 on it, and I think the shocks were changed once by a previous owner, but everything came apart pretty easy. And also fastening on the nut for the Koni strut was fairly easy as well. I could get it up to the specified torque, which was I think 40 foot-pounds, without needing another wrench to hold things. So yeah, so there you go. So that's the rear Koni strut install, and obviously the damper adjustments is on the inside, just like all Konis. That little doohickey, the little flat tab there that you use the white knob on. So what I will do is I will try to film the install of the front struts, which are a cut of strut. I'll put in a picture of the comparison of the shock bodies between the Koni and the stock OEM one. This should give the car about a 2-inch, 1.5-inch drop maybe, so I'm hoping the camber will stay fine, but I'll deal with that later. This is phase 1. Phase 2 will be to remove these body spacers that take this from a regular wagon into this lifted version, which I'm not really keen on. So there'll be a bit of work to get that done, but that's the long-term goal, is to basically make this like a proper wagon. And I'll just quickly show you the cut of strut assemblies. So this is an OEM strut that I've cut the top of it off and inserted the Koni insert. All ready to go. So I'll do that one and post that one up as a separate video where I do the removal and the installation of these guys, which hopefully will go as easy as the rears did. Okay, hopefully that's some basic info that's helpful to some people, and we'll see you in the next video. I forgot to mention for the strut installation, you don't need to take out the wheel liner. I took it off just to see what was going on underneath there, and obviously you can see here my fuel filler hose retaining bracket is in sad shape. What I'm going to do on both sides of the car is I'll spray this with the crown rust protection, which seems to work pretty good. And actually the crown penetrating fluid has been working really good for me on my other car projects. It does a really fast job of eating away at the rust and getting the bolts to break free. This is what the rear passenger side looks like after tires back on. You can see there's noticeably a lot less droop in the suspension with the Koni shock. We'll see how that plays out in practice. Hopefully the camber's not too messed up and we can at least get the toe straightened out until I figure out a camber solution in the future. As luck would have it, I needed the car on the road before I could get to the front suspension. So here's a couple of shots of what the car looks like sitting on the stock shocks and springs for the front, and its ride height, fender gap, and also the rear Koni shock with the stock Outback springs ride height. I'm pretty happy with where the back is sitting, and there's no obvious camber or toe issues. Essentially, it's sitting as if it was towing a trailer or had a big load on the back of the car. So everything looks fine, and I'm going to be driving it like this for another week or so until I can get to the front suspension.